Allow me, as I'm thanking you, to also appreciate the contributions of all the members who have spoken to this, and at the same time, also appreciate the ministry, the drafters, and the parliamentary staff who have helped us to get to this stage. Mr. Speaker, in replying, I ought to say that the Konza Technopolis Development Authority already exists. However, that authority is limited only to the purview of that area called Konza. And what this bill is seeking to do is to make sure that if Kenya decides to establish another technopolis out of Konza, there shall be a legal framework for it. Presently, even at Konza, which is alive because of the Kenya Technopolis Development Authority, exists only for 10 years. However, even in Konza, they are leasing land for 10 years that are going up to 90 years. So what this bill is seeking to do is to transition the Konza Technopolis Development Authority into the Technopolis Authority that covers way beyond Konza. This is because of the reasons that members are giving here. Honorable Speaker, I have sat through this debate. Amazing bills that have been put onto this bill. Great start. You know, we had the Honorable Wakili Murugara starting us off with great insights as to why we stand to benefit by making sure that this bill allows us to have Technopolis in other places other than Konza. He went into the deep detail of telling us how we stand to benefit with the transition clauses that are provided in this bill. And I want to thank the Honorable Murugara. I want to also thank the Honorable Karemba, the Honorable Mawathe, all who contributed to this. And this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, we had Dr. Undo putting in some amazing bills. He was talking to us about the potential misuse of technology and how we can use the provisions that we are putting in this new bill to curb against that. And that is a theme that has run across many members talking to us about the dangers of technology and why we need to mitigate against that. Honorable Undo is asking us whether this bill purports to usurp the powers of the planning department. And I stand here to say no. When we build Technopolis, we are not taking any power out of any existing entity. In fact, for us to be able to see it visually in our mind, it would take two things. One, to visit the Kenya Technopolis, the Konza Technopolis, and see what development is happening there as Kenya works on developing its own Silicon Valley. And Mr. Speaker, I have to report to you that as we speak today, almost all horizontal infrastructure that is needed for Konza is already in place. And in fact now, Konza is working on the vertical development, and Konza is now ready to even attract multinational big tech companies to come and invest in Konza because the installations there, the smart installations there, allow for us to have the first ever silicon savanna in the continent, and thus propelling Kenya to the front of the pile in terms of development. Mr. Speaker, there was a concern from Dr. Undo asking us, how do we deal with the issue of humanizing technology? And it is a real issue, Mr. Speaker, that even as we are developing and advancing so fast to digitize, we ought to remember that we ought to be humanizing the digital systems more than the digital systems digitize us as humans. Because we would not want a place where technology comes to replace human intelligence or replace human knowledge. Honorable Rindikiri is saying that there is an opportunity to connect the digital innovation hubs that we are building in our constituencies to the Technopolis that shall be built going forward. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Millie Odhiambo was on the floor a bit earlier, and she did speak to us about the governance issues. And I want to agree with her. And on that, I would not even want to even have a pushback, because she would have a better understanding as a wakili, but even more so, she would understand the provisions that are given by mwongozo, and so it is for the authority, when it is formed, to take into consideration that in governance we must include our young people. We must include both genders in the running and governance of this Technopolis. Honorable Millie Odhiambo was also telling us that this is a good opportunity to formalize this whole technology space, and there is an opportunity granted even by this Technopolis Bill. And she also did contribute on the negative technological spin-offs that are in the offing, and she did put some very good builds to that. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba was keen to let us know that we are not only talking about today, but the future. She was propelling us into a future that we can imagine ourselves. So rather than hope for a good future, she's saying to us, let us imagine that good future that we want. She is saying to us that we ought to reserve land for future development. We have to find a way of ensuring that we are thinking beyond our lifetimes. But most importantly, Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba was asking whether we can have a Technopolis in every constituency and county. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to inform the Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, because she does know that a Technopolis is in itself a city. It is constituencies that will have to be fitting in our Technopolis and not the other way around. Honorable Kimilu, a former member of this CII committee, he himself, sitting and neighboring Konza Technopolis, is giving us all the benefits that there is to having such a city, sitting astride 3 counties, the county of Machakos, the county of Kajiado, and the county of Makwiny. And he is saying to us that we need to think of how to put more resources so we can have more Konzas in this republic. He is also calling upon us to think about how to attract more investment into such amazing developments like the Technopolis. The Honorable Sane Ibrahim was talking to us about how this bill goes to equalizing and being able to bridge the digital gap. Mr. Speaker, I took that very seriously. We sit in a parliament called the IPU with the Honorable Wakili Millie Odhiambo. And she will tell you that when we stand on the floor of that global parliament, the parliament of parliaments, bringing together 186 parliaments, we are championing for data representation. We are championing for the reduction of the divide between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere in terms of data representation. We are keen to ensure that Africa does not slip through the 4th industrial revolution. And so what the Honorable Sane is saying to us is important and it is critical. Honorable Sane did ask, is Konza Authority combined with ICTA, combined with Communications Authority, are they duplicating roles? And the answer there, Mr. Speaker, is simple. No. In fact, Communications Authority is a regulator, ICTA is an implementing authority. And so the roles are very well defined and they sit well in a sector that is able to produce enough AMA to run all these bodies that we're talking about. As we speak today, ICTA is asking our committee to increase the bar for them, for their AI, their AMA. They're able to even generate more AMA than what Treasury is giving them as a ceiling. Honorable Kagushia is the one who has closed this debate, but Mr. Speaker, you shall give me the latitude to donate my final minute to a member who is here with us, the Honorable Bernard Kitur, and that shall be with the discretion of the chair. But Honorable Kagushia brought to the attention of this House that coding is an important and integral part of our syllabus today if we haven't made it. That even some of the courses that we are giving to our learners, some of them might be obsolete by the time these learners graduate. The Honorable Gathoni Mwamushomba was reciting to us that she has been to a meeting where a coffee factory has closed. And in that coffee factory, she found 3 degree holders holding extremely good papers, but are not employed. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we have to ensure that our curriculum and our syllabus is not only relevant for today, but relevant even for the future. Honorable Kagushia is calling upon us to ensure that when we are creating new authorities and new bodies, to make sure that they are lean. And this is a concern that is addressing the austerity measures that are required for this republic, and I want to agree with him. He's also calling upon us to revisit a bill and an act of parliament that was brought by our committee, the Kenya Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. And I'm imagining that he's calling upon this parliament to relook at it because of some of the happenings, of recent happenings in the country, where misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and even blatant fake news and deep fakes are becoming a part of our national conversation, where, Mr. Speaker, you're not even able to tell the difference between the real news, the fake news, the deep fakes, and even outright lies. And he warns us that this has the potential of burning our country. But the Honorable Kagushia also has some good things to say to us by reminding us that this bill and the creation of Technopolis around the country also gives us an opportunity to take advantage of the already existing infrastructure, the infrastructure that we are developing, and also to give an opportunity to some of the young people who are technologically savvy to be able to serve their country. And I want to say to Honorable Kagushia that these young people shall not only be serving the country, they shall also be feeding in data that shall form part of data sets that shall be fueling the next revolution, which is a data revolution in the new emerging technologies, up to and including artificial intelligence. And so, Honorable Kagushia might be well informed to run ahead and install and institute digital innovation hubs in his constituency that would be able to join our young people into this big Kenya Superhighway digital program that is in the offing, and as such benefit his constituents. Honorable Speaker, the long and short of it is that this Technopolis Bill gives this country the opportunity to realize the aspirations that are espoused in Kenya Vision 2030 that seeks to create Kenya into a knowledge-based economy so that we can contribute into this new world where the race is already on for who shall be championing the fourth industrial revolution takeover. And we believe that this gives an advantage to Africa if Africa was able to jump onto the bandwagon so that we can see more Konzas, more Technopolis around the country, so that we will not only be talking about one Technopolis which is Kotda, but Technopolis in every corner of this country. Mr. Speaker, invoking standing order number 1, I would like to ask you, just out of your discretion, to kindly give a minute to the honorable member for Nandi Hills, just to put in a word or a comment on this, because I do understand that after the mover has moved, I know the only thing he may be able to do is to put in a comment. Honorable Speaker, I do move that this parliament passes the Kenya Technopolis Bill. I thank you. And I beg to reply.
Thank you so much. I would have loved to give the